Hello, this is Reverend Barbara Cowa coming at you from the homestead. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Wheel of the Year. The Wheel of the Year is actually a collection of pagan rituals and different types of events that happen throughout the year. There's actually 8 different events that happen throughout the year, and you probably have heard of them through the Christian calendar. And a lot of these pagan events have been the basis for the Christian calendar. However, Christianity, when it took over and ran rampant around the world, that's when they altered these different occurrences in order to meet their own standards. However, it started out as pagan rituals and even Wiccan rituals. You can call them either way. And so this is where they originated from. They're actually newer than some of the other things we've been talking about. And it really depends on who you talk to as to when things started. There's a lot of information on the internet about the rituals and when they started and all that kind of stuff. So we're not going to really get into that too much tonight. What we're going to do is we're going to look at what it actually means. So we're going to first talk about solstices and equinoxes. So what I'm going to do is I am going to share my screen. And which one is it? Wheel of the Year. There it is. So I'm going to share this to show you what the difference is between a solstice and an equinox before we actually get fully started into the actual Wheel of the Year. So as you all know, here's the sun. I'm going to actually change the tip here. So here's the sun. And as you know, the earth revolves around the sun. And we have the different seasons. So you've got, spring, summer, fall, and winter, or autumn and winter. And so the difference between an equinox and a solstice. So an equinox, you talk about either the day or the night. They're both completely even. So the day and the night are exactly identical. When you're talking about a solstice, it's usually like the summer solstice, the day is longer than the night. Or if you're looking at the winter solstice over here, this is when the night is longer than the day. And we know that, we always talk about, the solstice and, oh, today is, the longest night, or today is the longest day. And so that's how we mark them. So they're also part of the Wheel of the Year, where we mark those. So down here, you're looking at the spring equinox. So you see that it's March 20th to 21st. And, your summer solstice, June 20th to 22nd. Your autumn or fall equinox, September 22 to 23. And your winter, as we saw, December 21st to 22nd. So that's the difference between an equinox and a solstice. So then when we actually look at the Wheel of the Year, it'll be easier to understand what the difference is. And, that way it makes more sense. So I'm going to stop the share from this one. And so that way, by defining the two of them, it's going to make it easier to understand what the Wheel of the Year is. So I'm going to share screen with regards to the Wheel of the Year. So this is the actual Wheel of the Year. So this is all the different times and stuff like that. I'm going to enlarge it a bit to make it easier to read. So according to pagan tradition, it's October 31st, Samhain, and you do pronounce them a little differently. Samhain is the actual new year according to pagan tradition. And that's when the veil between here, the earth, and the other side is the thinnest. That means then that it's much easier to speak to deceased loved ones and easier for them to communicate with us here on earth. So it says here, a time to remember our ancestors and honor our beloved dead. So remembering our ancestors, death, magic, and mystery. And the overarching theme is dreaming and resting during winter, because even the ground itself is resting before, you get into spring and you start planting again. And so then in between Samhain and Imbolc, you have the winter solstice. And that's December 21st, 22nd. And it's the shortest day and the longest night of the year. Return of the light, hope, renewal, and birth. And as you remember, like October 31st, that's when we do, all the dressing up and handing out candy and things like this. That's part of the tradition. With any of these, there's all kinds of tradition attached to them. Using candles, using oils, using different types of plants, different types of foods that you eat specifically on these different occasions. And so there are many books and resources that you can source and see, which ones you want to celebrate. I like to look at and celebrate all of them. And so when you're looking at the winter solstice, it's the shortest day and the longest night of the year. So it's the return of light, hope, renewal, and birth. It's actually one of my favorites because I like to light a lot of candles at that time. And the ritual, that I do is to remind myself that the light is coming and it's rebirth. How cool is that? So then you go into Imbolc, which is February 1st. Your spirit begins to stretch and reawaken after the winter's rest. And you're looking new beginnings, new life stirring, trials, and initiation. So these are the two that you look at for rebirth and planting, because you're heading into the spring equinox. There are those who love the different types of seasons. I am so glad and grateful that here in Canada, we actually get all of the seasons, and it's actually beautiful, each one. And it makes it even more special when you celebrate these different events, because then you're marking the year and it's celebrating. I like celebrating. Don't you like celebrating? And it makes it really special when you do it in this kind of way. So then you're getting into the spring equinox, which is March 19th to 21st. And the days begin growing longer than the night. And that's all part of the planting and rebirth. So we're talking balance, rebirth, growth, all of those wonderful things. I love the smell of black dirt in the spring. It has such an interesting scent to it. And that's what reminds me of spring and growth and all of those kinds of things. So then you're getting into springtime. So you're looking at Beltane, which is May 1st. And it's a joyful time to celebrate the fertility inherent in all life. So it's about fertility, pleasure, joy, and creativity. And a lot of you may or may not realize that that's when they used to put up the maypole, and the boys and the girls would weave their ribbons around the maypole, signifying the fertility. And so this was part of their tradition to do that. So, it was, and a lot of this also, as I'm remembering now, it's has to do with Celtic tradition too. So it's weavings of different types of rituals that create the wheel of the year. So then you get into So this is all growth and culmination, this particular section. And so summer solstice is June 20th to 22nd. And it's the longest day and the shortest night of the year. And it's a fun day because, you know, it's so long and you're outside and it's nice and warm usually. And so it really feels good to be able to be outside and think of the abundance, you know, after the fertility, then you're waiting for everything to start growing. And once it's been growing for the summer and stuff like this, then you're starting to get into heading towards the autumn. So at this point, the sun is waning, life begins its graceful descent. And this is called Lammas. And so we're looking at the harvesting, the dying, and giving thanks. So we're heading into that. And this is based on the northern hemisphere. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you would like flip everything. And it's still, you would celebrate all of these different things, except it would be flipped because their seasons are opposite to ours. So as an example, in Australia, it would be flipped. And that kind of thing. So that's what you're looking at. In this particular time frame, going from August to September, this is when a lot of fruits and vegetables and things like that are ready to be harvested. Hopes and fears, resting after your hard work. So there's a lot of hard work when you're growing stuff, weeding and you know, watering and all that kind of stuff, watching the weather, protecting your plants, harvesting some of them. And you've probably been harvesting them even into July and then into August. So then once you've begun the harvest, then as you head into autumn, then you're looking at the autumn equinox between September 22nd and 24th. The nights begin growing longer than the day. So you're heading towards the end of the harvest, letting go, dying, giving thanks. So we're heading into, you know, our Thanksgiving here in Canada. And so that's when we like to give thanks for the harvest, for all the food that we have. That's why they have all the different rituals, you know, your jack-o'-lanterns and pumpkins and all of that kind of fun stuff. So you're looking at, you know, taking this and getting back into the new year. And so it's realizing that each of these solstices and equinoxes have energies to them. They each have a particular energetic feeling towards them. And those are good times to actually, you know, do your own planting and harvesting in the sense of the kinds of things that you want in your life. So those are the great times to be able to plant. So it's going with what's going on here and using those energies to be able to actually get what you need, the abundance. And so it's using those different energies. And that's why we also have them, is so that we're able to then look at what are the different energies that we're having in these times, because it also affects us as well as human beings. We know that at this time of year, we're heading towards the autumn equinox. And a lot of people start getting into the seasonal affective disorder. I think that's what it's called, when the light is starting to get less and our bodies start to react. What a lot of these equinoxes and solstices do is they help us to focus more on the energies and what's happening in life now, so that it doesn't affect us as much. So by doing these celebrations, especially with others, because you can do them by yourself or you can do them with other like-minded people. And what that does is it's a great way to celebrate, to enjoy each other's company, to remind each other of why we're getting together. Like at this time of the year, we're headed towards the autumn equinox, which is the end of the harvest, letting go, giving thanks, all of that kind of stuff. The plants are the ones that are doing the dying. And it's the realization that, those plants gave us what they had in order for us to eat. And that's part of the giving thanks. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to commemorate each of the equinoxes. So the equinox is coming up shortly here in the Northern Hemisphere. We're headed into that particular equinox. And it really helps us to focus more on what's going on in the year. It helps us to realize that, as we're ramping up to the energy, whichever one it is, that we can actually sometimes even feel the energy shifting, and how much importance it has in order for us to have a focus, so that we're not just living day to day, that we're looking at our lives. What do we need to learn at this time of year? What kinds of things are going on in our lives at this time? Is it time for us to let go? Is it time for us to dream? So here we're talking about dreaming and resting. Are we resting? Are we taking time to rest? So these are the different things that we can think about as we talk about the Wheel of the Year and the energies that come with it. And it helps us to understand what's going on out there in the world as well. And it gives us rituals to do, being able to be with each other in a different way. So when we're looking at all of the different things here, you can see where they all might coincide with some of the Christian traditions. And so, that October 31st, we're talking about Halloween. Winter solstice or Yule is when we're talking about Christmas and the celebrations there and everything. And you've got Imbolc. When you're looking at the spring equinox, you're getting closer to Easter time as well. And so you look at the different times of the year, and they do correspond with some of the Christian traditions. And that's where those traditions came from. And whichever way you celebrate, there's nothing wrong with the celebrations. It's the realization that we celebrate the way that is best for us. There's no right way or wrong way. It's about being able to celebrate based on what you believe the traditions are for you. I'm bringing the Wheel of the Year because that's something that a lot of people do like to follow. I was following them mainly because of the solstices usually, or Christian traditions, because I was born Roman Catholic. So I understand about, your Christmas time and things like that. And then thinking about like the solstice itself, when, you're talking about switching between the different seasons. So that's where that comes from as well. Your solstices are when we switch from winter. So then the spring equinox, which, is also when we switch from winter to spring. So it could be a solstice or an equinox, depending. And then over here, summer solstice is where we switch from spring to summer. And then over here, the autumn equinox is when we switch from summer to autumn or fall. And so then by following that, we know when we're switching seasons. And we're able to then follow that. So these are the different solstices and your equinoxes, so that you now understand a little bit more about the wheel of the year and why we do follow them, because you'll hear about it, on the radio or on TV or anything like this. And so, we now know the origins and why we celebrate them. So it's an interesting way to celebrate our year, and looking at, how that can help us by looking at the different areas and what are we then thinking about it during that time, using that energy towards that. Why do we feel sleepy here? And why is it that, our North American heritage, what we are told we're supposed to do is rush, 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 especially around Christmas time. Oh, goodness gracious, the stores are busy. Everybody's thinking about, oh, who's on my Christmas list? What do I need to get them? Which is actually going against what this whole section is all about. So I use it as a reminder of what I need to be focusing on. So wintertime, I do like to take a little time to be able to rest, relax, that kind of thing. Do some renewal against what everybody thinks you're supposed to be doing. So it's a good way to regroup when you're kind of like going, what do I need to be doing right now? So here and now we're looking into the autumn equinox, getting into the end of harvest, all of that kind of thing. The trees will be changing color, which is so pretty. And that's why letting go is so appropriate, because that's what the trees do with their leaves, is that they let go. And there's our wheel of the year and what it represents. There are books out there that you can follow and read up on what they are, find out what the rituals are, and have some fun with them. It really does help focus your life when you look at the different areas and how they correspond with the energies that we're feeling in that moment. So I'm going to stop the share now. And so this is what we're looking at when we're looking at the wheel of the year. And, it's just a great way to celebrate. And you can put that together with the phases of the moon and see what you come up with, because everything has energy. And it's really great to be able to follow the energies and have a way of celebrating, because life is about celebrations. It's about fun. And it's about, yes, there are times when it's serious. However, this is a good time to have fun with the wheel of the year. And so that's it for tonight. If you have any questions, please message me through my website, www.barbarakawa.com, and drop me a line. Tell me what you think. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you need to know more, you can let me know as well. And I'd be happy to answer your questions. So thank you so much for watching this little video, and we will talk again soon.